Do you ever wonder if a narcissist feels regret after causing pain? This is a question that often arises when we delve into the intricate world of narcissism. Narcissism, a term derived from Greek mythology, is primarily characterized by an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. These traits can significantly affect interpersonal relationships, often leaving a trail of emotional destruction in their wake. It's a common perception that narcissists, with their apparent lack of empathy, may not experience feelings of regret. This belief stems from the understanding that regret often requires a certain level of empathy, a characteristic notably absent in most narcissists. However, like many aspects of human psychology, the reality is far more nuanced. So what happens when a narcissist causes pain? Do they feel regret, or is it just another opportunity for them to manipulate and control? Let's delve deeper to understand the complex emotions a narcissist might experience. Contrary to popular belief, narcissists can experience regret. But how does it manifest? Let's delve into the fascinating labyrinth of the narcissist's mind. Regret, as we commonly understand it, involves feeling sorry for our actions that have caused harm or discomfort to others. It stirs up feelings of guilt, empathy, and a desire to make things right. But for narcissists, these emotions aren't processed in the same way. A narcissist's regret is not about the hurt they've inflicted on others, but rather how this hurt could reflect badly on them. They worry about tarnishing their image and how others perceive them, not necessarily the pain they've caused. Their regret is more about self-preservation than empathy. Research into the psyche of narcissists reveals this distinct pattern. A study published in the Journal of Research in Personality found that narcissists do feel regret, but it's primarily about self-focused events. That is, they regret actions that have negative impacts on their own lives, not those of others. Their regret is a tool for self-improvement, not for mending broken relationships. Another study from the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that narcissists are more likely to feel regret for things they didn't do rather than the things they did. This is because they tend to be future-focused, always chasing the next big thing to boost their self-image. If they miss an opportunity for self-enhancement, they feel regret. However, this doesn't mean they're incapable of acknowledging their actions. Narcissists can recognize when they have caused harm, but they struggle to empathize with the pain they've inflicted. Their emotional processing is skewed towards self-centered concerns, making their version of regret unique and complex. This leads us to question, how does a narcissist react when they regret causing pain? Consider the case of a narcissistic parent who realizes the emotional pain they've caused their child. Let's delve into the story of Caroline, a mother who, after years of displaying narcissistic tendencies, comes to a sudden realization of the emotional harm she's caused her son Tom. Caroline was always the star of her own show, often overlooking Tom's needs and feelings for her own. But one day, after a particularly harsh argument, she sees the pain reflected in Tom's eyes, a mirror to the years of emotional neglect she's inflicted. Caroline's first instinct is to make amends. She attempts to shower Tom with affection and gifts, trying to erase the past with material possessions and overwhelming displays of love. But remember, narcissists have a skewed perception of love, often confusing it with control. So, while her intentions may seem pure, they are tainted by her need to regain control over Tom's emotions. When her attempts to make amends are met with resistance, Caroline then resorts to deflecting blame. She points fingers at external factors, maybe Tom's father, his friends, or even societal pressures. Anything but admitting to her own shortcomings. It's a classic narcissistic move, shifting the blame rather than accepting responsibility. Then comes denial. Caroline downplays the severity of her actions, chalking it up to tough love or parental discipline. She convinces herself that she was just trying to make Tom stronger, better equipped for the world. But in reality, she's simply trying to protect her own ego, to save herself from the guilt of her actions. But it's important to note that not all narcissistic parents will follow this exact pattern. Narcissism, like any other personality trait, exists on a spectrum, and the way one person deals with regret may differ from another. Some may never reach the stage of regret, while others might genuinely attempt to change their behavior. This case study illustrates the complex ways in which a narcissist might deal with regret. And while we've focused on a parent-child relationship here, these patterns of behavior can be observed in all types of relationships involving a narcissist. Now, let's examine the case of a narcissistic partner who regrets the harm they've inflicted on their significant other. To illustrate this, let's consider the story of Jane and Tom. Tom, the narcissistic partner, had a tendency to belittle Jane's achievements, dismissing them as insignificant. When Tom realized that his actions were pushing Jane away, he began to feel a twinge of regret. However, the manifestation of this regret was far from straightforward. Instead of openly acknowledging his actions and apologizing, Tom started a campaign of manipulation. He showered Jane with compliments and extravagant gifts, seeking to re-establish his control and regain her validation. He became the perfect partner, or so it seemed. In this scenario, Tom's regret was not rooted in empathy for Jane's feelings, but rather in the fear of losing his source of narcissistic supply. The regret was not about the pain he had caused, but the potential loss of control and affirmation. The grand gestures were merely a smokescreen, a clever ruse to keep Jane in his grasp. But what happens when the narcissistic partner can no longer maintain this facade? When the reality of their actions becomes too much to bear? Often, they resort to avoidance, denying their actions or blaming their partner for their own regret. In Tom's case, he started blaming Jane for making him feel regretful, twisting the narrative to absolve himself of all responsibility. This is a common tactic among narcissistic individuals. They may express regret, but it's typically self-centered, focused on their own discomfort rather than the pain they have caused others. They are experts at shifting blame and avoiding accountability, all while maintaining a veneer of regret and remorse. These case studies reveal the varied responses of narcissists when faced with regret. As we've learned, narcissists can indeed feel regret, but their reactions may not align with our expectations. Narcissists, in their complex web of emotions, may regret the pain they inflict, but their remorse is often tied to the fear of losing control rather than genuine empathy. We've seen how this regret manifests differently in various relationships, from parental to romantic. In the realm of parenthood, narcissistic regret often revolves around the potential loss of admiration from their children, which they see as extensions of themselves. In romantic relationships, narcissists may regret causing hurt, not out of love for their partner, but out of fear of losing their emotional supply. These insights into narcissistic regret are not to demonize,